here's the is also a test kit. We can also so we can start sucking the water into the system. You have to Hello, this is Jose. Here I am again with my 2017 Mercedes S550 or W222. Today we're going to be doing the coolant flush, the antifreeze. We're going to take it out. It's not 100% flush. You're not going to be able to do that, but the way we're going to do it, we're going to take it all down. We're going to rinse the system with some distilled water, and then we're going to fill it again with our antifreeze, with our mix of 50-50. You have to make sure you do a 50-50 mix. You can't leave just distilled water or just antifreeze. You can't do that, because if you put too much water, it's gonna freeze in the winter. In places where I live, especially, you can't do that. In other places, let's say Vegas, you have to do a different mix. I think you do a 75-25 over there. But here, in the cold weather where it's gonna freeze, you have to do a 50-50. There's always a mix. You can't put pure antifreeze either, because pure antifreeze will create hot pockets in different places in the engine. So you make sure that you make the right mix depending on where you are. Right here, we're going to do a 50-50, and make sure you use distilled water, not regular water, because regular water has a lot of calcium, a lot of minerals, and it will damage your engine. It will create all that buildup inside, and it's not going to cool your engine as good. There's not going to be any heat transfer there. So, and that's the reason we're doing this service. You're supposed to be doing this around every 30,000 miles, and you can check, see, just look at the container. It looks bad. You do it. Anytime you change something, any part, any hose, you had a leak, you fixed it. You have to drain that system. Don't just fill it up again. It's better that you drain it. You don't have any debris, nothing in there that's gonna go throughout the system, and you're gonna have better heat transfer. Meaning you're gonna cool down your engine better, or warm up your engine a little better when it needs to warm up, when you just turn on the car. Because you want to warm up the car as fast as possible, but then also keep it cool. The operating temperature as low as possible. But if your antifreeze is not doing anything for your car, it's too dirty, has too much debris, it's not gonna cool it down as well. So. And the reason you want to heat up the engine as quick as possible when you first start it is because the car is gonna use more gas. So if your gas is not, if your coolant is not doing its job, the car is not going to be as efficient. You're going to be using much more gas than you normally do. So this will help you with your gas consumption also when you do this service. And let's see. Let's go jump right on it. And I'm going to show you some tools. What we're gonna do, we have a vacuum that's what we're gonna use here to take all the air out, the air packets. You can do it manually also, pressing the hoses. That's the way it's been done for many years. That's the old school. That's the way you do it. And I've done it like that. But in other cars, I haven't done that on this car. But you could do it that way. I'll show you where to press the hose if you don't have the vacuum. I think it's worth getting the vacuum. It's only $100-something that you're paying for the vacuum system, so it's worth getting it, because you're going to do it a couple of times. Like I said, this way, or the way I'm doing it, we're going to drain it, we're going to fill it up with just distilled water to rinse the system, take everything out, and then we're going to drain that. So doing it a couple of times, you might create more air pockets, so it's better to just use a vacuum system. Okay, let's get to it. All right, let's see what we need. We need some antifreeze. We're gonna mix 50-50, so we need 1.5 gallons. I have some extra because we're gonna mix it with another 1.5 gallons over there. So the car takes about 12 liters, 12.3 liters to fill up. We have some empty buckets to maybe make the mix, and an empty bucket to put the old antifreeze. So we're gonna need some flashlights. We're gonna use a power tool just to make it a little faster, to take that cover from the bottom off. Needle nose pliers to open the valve to drain that coolant. And here's the cooling system vacuum filler. This is also a test kit. We can also test the cooling system for any leaks. Comes in that box. We're gonna need a jack, maybe we'll see. We need a jack. Here's the compressor. So this vacuum machine works with the compressor. We put some air on it. It has a venturi valve inside that will get the system to a vacuum. So this pushes air on one side and it pulls the air from inside the system to make that vacuum. Okay, so the reason I said we might not need jacks is because I put the car on small ramps, okay, and I raised the suspension. So the car raises about an inch, is about 2.5 inches with that little ramp. So we might have enough clearance there to be able to work under the car. If not, we'll just use the jack and put the car up. Okay, here we are. The reservoir is on this side. So we gotta take this cover off. Okay, and here's our reservoir. Just clean around a little bit. We don't want any debris going in there. You have to do this with the car cold, okay? I had it a little warm because I was running it a little bit. So you open it slowly. If your car is warm, you open it slowly. Let it release the pressure. And that's it. You can't open, if the car was hot, you just drove the car, you can't open this because otherwise you'll have the cap flying all over the place and antifreeze going all over the place, splashing your face. So see, there's some calcification here, or some solidification of the antifreeze, I should say. Clean all these up. Okay, there we go. It doesn't look that bad in there. It's nice and pink, but we're gonna flash it anyway. And we're gonna leave these open so you could drain a little faster,
There's 10 of
a little
them.
better. It's gonna take a little while before it drains all the way down, but I'm gonna go down now and show you where to drain it from. So we're gonna leave that open, okay? Okay, now we're down here. We're gonna take this cover off to have access to the radiator valve, bleed valve. And we're gonna be taking these screws out. We use a number 8mm. Here we go. So here's the valve. This is where we're gonna drain it from. Valve is right here. We're gonna move this like a dial. Here's where it's gonna come out of. Okay, if you wanted to do it manually, that's the hose you're gonna be pushing. Okay, you squeeze, you squeeze, you squeeze, you're gonna make it burp. Get all the air out. So here it is. There we go. Got it going. So the system is drained. We have to turn on the ignition for 5 seconds, okay? 5 seconds, we're gonna turn the ignition on. We're not turning the car on, we're just turning the ignition on. So that is the second position. So you push your button twice. Once, twice. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 seconds, and shut it off. Now we're gonna close it. We're gonna fill it with distilled water. We're gonna put a vacuum in it. We'll run the car again after the water is filled, and we drain it again. So we're pouring our water in a bucket so we can pour it in with a vacuum. We don't want to run out of water and use just the gallon, so we're gonna pour it all in the bucket, and then we'll pour it all in with our vacuum system. We can save our bottles to put out the contaminated water later on, but here we go. We're gonna start with the vacuuming. We're gonna put the machine into the reservoir, and we're gonna put the hose, the filling hose, into our bucket. Let it go all the way down so we don't push air into the system. You have to monitor that so we keep it on the bottom. Okay, now on this side, this is our air coming from our compressor. It's gonna go in, and it's gonna push the air through. There's a venturi valve here that's gonna make the air out of the system come out and go out that way. So that's how we're gonna create this vacuum, thanks to this venturi valve in here. We're gonna start letting the air through so we can start sucking the water into the system. You have to make sure you put the level of the water right above the one of the reservoir. Okay, so that's why I have this on top up here. So you have to keep it at the same level. And we're gonna start letting the air go. You're gonna let it go up to like 9 bar. Close these. That's when we're keeping the vacuum. We're gonna leave it there for a few seconds just to make sure it doesn't move. If it doesn't move, we're making sure that there's no leaks in the system. Okay. There we go. How do you know that you have a good vacuum? Because your hoses are collapsed. Okay, let's see if we can take a look at that hose being collapsed real quick. Look at that hose. It's completely squeezed. The hose on the bottom. So right now there's a vacuum in there. It's going to start pulling that coolant right away. All right, here we go. Now we close the air So now we have to open the water, okay? There we go. Look at this water going in. You gotta make sure on this side by the bucket that the hose is staying in. You can hear the water going. We're still in the vacuum. I went up higher. I went to 15 bar. Let's see. How are we doing? We're okay. The hose is still compressed. Get more water in. It's almost out of a vacuum. Let's see how we're doing. And this other side is just going into a bucket. This is just a hose going into a bucket. So the air comes from the compressor, it pushes through. But we want to put this on the bucket. We don't want this just out because you might get splashed with the water that's coming through. That's why we put the hose into another bucket on the side. It doesn't do much. There's hardly any coming out, but that's what it is. Let's see how the hose is. Okay, starting to get some water in it. Before it's completely out of a vacuum. It's almost out of a vacuum. It's almost at zero, so let's see. It's almost full. Let's put a little bit more of a vacuum in it. All right, more water going in. I can feel that hose blowing up again. Well, let's close it. It's almost out of a vacuum, but we still need to put more water in. So let's push some more air through. Okay, start to push water. Let's open this again. More water going in. Keep going back to that hose, that bottom hose. You'll feel how that hose gets inflated. It's getting full of water. And we're getting out of a vacuum again. So let's close. Okay, we can't pull much of a vacuum anymore because it's practically full, okay? So that's how we're gonna know. Yeah, water, that hose is almost full. So let's get more water in. Almost at zero. You have to keep an eye on these hoses, and it's hard to miss. This hose is all the one all the way in the bottom. You can squeeze it also. Make sure it's burping. You're purging the system. Looks good. Let's see if more air wants to go in. Yeah, we're not able to pull the vacuum anymore. Hardly any vacuum. Air is going right through. Okay, let's see. Can't pull any more water in it. All right. System is full. We got some water in there. Now we're gonna turn on the car for 5 seconds, turn it off, and we're gonna see how that looks. You'll see we need to fill it up again. One, two, three, 4, and 5. Shut it off. System looks good. We're gonna turn on the car for a little longer, put the heat on so that the heater opens up so we can circulate all that water and rinse everything out so we can drain it again. We have the car on. Let's leave it running for a little bit. Let's get it warm up. We put the heat on. Make sure that thermostat opens. Make sure the heating opens so we can circulate this water all around the system. Here we are inside the car. It's about 80 degrees outside. It's about 100 degrees inside the car. I have the heat running, and that's what you have to make sure. You have to run the heat. Make all the water run through the entire system so we can clean it up. The car's at operating temperature. Normal temperature for the car was 190. That's at least how I run my car, about 190. After I start driving for a little bit, then it gets up to 200. But if I'm standing, that's how hot it gets, about 190 degrees. Let's see if it makes a difference when I put the new coolant in. It might be the same. I'm changing the coolant before time. Okay, so we have to let the car cool down a little bit. I run the car for about 10 minutes, but we see something here. Look at these. Let's see if we can close it up a little bit. The coolant, I had water in there. You can hardly see it. Now it's pink again, or a little pinkish. But that's the mix of water cleaning out the system. So there was still some stuff in there, and of course, it was stuff there that was there before the thermostat and the heating coil. So now it came out, and it's all mixed with the water, and we're gonna drain all of that in a minute. So we're gonna open that. We'll let the car cool off a little bit. It's still hot, but we gotta drain these again, and it took a while before it drained. So it's gonna be. It takes a long time to all of this. It's very easy, but the most of the time it's just the waiting to drain, waiting to heat up, waiting to drain again, and all the waiting. That's waiting to cool off. That's most of the waiting. But right now it's still warm, so we're gonna put a rag on top of these. Okay, take the cover off, move it little by little. Put a rag, make sure it doesn't splash on you. If there's any steam build up, if there's any pressure. So far I can't hear anything. Oh, I hear now. I hear some steam coming out. So leave it alone for a sec. Keep the cover on that. Pressure is released. I don't hear anything else. Keep going slowly. You gotta be very careful with this. This is really hot. It's gotta be really hot. Move the cap around while it's still on. Make sure it comes out. See, there's all the pressure is relieved already. There's no more pressure in there. Still, be careful. Keep this rag on top. All right, it's off. There we go. Now we're really gonna see the color of that when we drain it again. So let's start. This is open. We go down there, same procedure as before. I don't think I have to show you that again, but I will show you the water that comes out of there. So I'll be waiting for a while. I'll be right there for you. So the system is drained. We have to turn on the ignition for 5 seconds. Okay, 5 seconds. We're gonna turn the ignition on. We're not turning the car on. We're just turning the ignition on. So that is the second position. So you push your button twice. Once, twice. And we go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 seconds, and shut it off. And now we go fill. So this is the water that came out after the second drain. This bucket was a little dirty, so I'm not worried about that, but it's still a little pink and it has a little bit of debris. But imagine if we didn't put that water in, we still have some of this stuff in there, especially the little debris that is in there, those little things that are going around. But I think we're okay now. I'm glad we drained it, and now we're gonna fill it up with the Coolant 50-50 mix. Here we go. We're gonna start with our mix. We're gonna put the Antifreeze from Mercedes-Benz. This one is pure, so we gotta put this in there. 1 gallon of Antifreeze with 1 gallon of water. One gallon of distilled water. Remember, it has to be distilled water. It can't be regular water. All right, distilled water. I'm gonna put 1 more gallon of this and 1 more gallon of water. And you'll notice right away the difference in pink. That dark pink that came out of there with the new pink that's in here. This is a totally different pink. You'll see it. You can't really see that on video, but you'll notice it when you see that in person. So we're gonna start with the vacuuming again, just like before. Same procedure. We're just gonna have to wait a little bit. You're gonna see it fast forward right now. Okay, we're ready. Let's see how that looks. So on the way up, we're gonna go run the car. First, we're gonna turn the ignition for like 5 seconds. See how that goes, and then we throw the car on and let it run, warm up, get up to temperature, make sure everything is okay. Okay, car's on. Let's see how we do with the temperature. It doesn't go any higher. If it goes higher, that means there's an air pocket in the system. Air is blocking the circulation of water. So we have to burp the system again. So I'm done with the second fill. The first time was with the distilled water. Now we did it with the 50-50 mix. But I want to do it again just because the system holds 12.3 liters and I was able to get 8 out, put 8 in, 8 out. So I want to do it again so that that mix of the 50-50 goes in with what was there with the water. So there's 4 liters there that had a mix of water and some of the leftover antifreeze from before. Now I have the 50-50 with that, so I want to do another 50-50 with that mix that was in there. So that'll do it. That'll leave us a little better mix, and we don't need to go any more than that. I think the third time will do everything. So this every time I did the drain, I had the car running, get up to operating temperature. It got to 190 degrees, left it at 190 degrees for another 5 minutes. So I had the car running for like 10 minutes total until it gets to that temperature. And I do that to make sure that everything mixes in there, it goes through everything. The heat was up, as I told you. Heat was on all the way up. I'm sure the thermostat opened because the fan came on, and with all that going, with all the heat that's coming on here in the car, heat outside, the heat outside, the heat in the car. So I'm sure everything opened up, everything was circulating, so everything's mixed in there. So I'm gonna drain one more time, as I said, and this time should do everything should be good. So let's do it again. Let's do it one more time. This time is a charm. I'm gonna change these because I'm about to overflow. I don't know if you're really gonna be able to see this in camera, but this is a different pink. This is like a neon, almost neon pink. I hope you're able to tell that on camera, but if not, when you do yours, you'll definitely see it. Okay, now this is the final fill. We're going to, I made sure the vacuum was holding. I've been waiting for a few seconds, so it looks like it's holding. There's no leaks. As you have to double check on that. You always make sure there's no leaks. It's holding the vacuum. The big hose you're gonna see from the bottom. You see it from the top. I showed you earlier. You'll see it right there if you're underneath. But that hose is completely collapsed. It has a vacuum in it, so it's all collapsed. And we're gonna start filling in. See how it goes. There we go. It went right in. As I said, 8 liters went in. This last time, third time, same thing. 8 liters went in. So we put a gallon of the antifreeze and a gallon of the water, distilled water, and I put an extra liter of each just in case I didn't want to run out. And that's what's left in here. It's just a little bit. So it's perfect. We're gonna take these off. We're gonna switch the ignition on for 5 seconds, and then we're gonna shut it off, and we're gonna turn the car on and let it get up to operating temperature and see what happens. Everything should be okay, and we have to double check. There we go. One, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds, and we shut it off. Let's go see over there, see what's going on, see what we have happening over here. Everything seems okay. System is just reset and stabilizing. That's what you need those 5 seconds for. The computer needs to recognize that the antifreeze is there, the level is good, so we're gonna turn the car on and wait again for operating temperature. Here we go. While you're waiting for operating temperature to go up, you have to keep an eye on the temperature in the car and also on the coolant outside. Make sure it's not all getting sucked in or that the temperature is going too high. Okay, so you got to go back and forth. It shouldn't go up higher than 190 degrees normal operating temperature. And since we vacuumed the system, since everything was done correctly, that reservoir should stay at level the entire time. So that's what we're going to keep an eye on. Okay, so we're finished. We did it for the third time. And after running it and letting it cool off, we see that the level is perfect. The level has to be right there by the line where the white and the black connect. Okay, that's the line. That's your level. So guys, totally worth it to get that machine, the vacuum. When you fill it, it'll be perfect. That's the way it was done. All 3 times that I filled it in with the vacuum pump, it did it perfectly. It filled it right up to level. All right, so we're gonna start putting things back. This is the only cover that we took off on top, and then we're gonna put the cover back on the bottom of the car. We're gonna put everything back. All right, see how we do. Here we are, little test drive after replacing the antifreeze. Temperature staying stable. We are well into the night. It's dark right now. It's like 12:15. You can see the time over there, but totally worth it. Look at these. Look at these, how beautiful. Temperature staying 190 degrees. Been driving around for a few minutes. See how we do. So guys, you gotta make sure you get that vacuum pump. Totally worth it. I empty the system 3 times, and the 3 times, as I said, it came out to level correctly. It looks like we're doing better with this antifreeze. Temperature is not going over 190. After this much driving, normally we'll go up to 200. Nice. Car's gonna be more efficient now. Use less gas. So definitely do it. Change your antifreeze. I don't wait for the intervals for any fluid. I didn't wait for this one, and I'm not gonna wait for any other one. Totally worth it. There you go. Okay, that's it. Came back from the test drive. Car is still on. Car is at operating temperature. Make sure you do and follow procedures, please. Don't mix water. Regular water is the worst thing you can put in your car, so you have to do distilled water and do the 50-50 mix. I think I've said it a few times, but I'm saying it again. Get that vacuum machine. It's totally worth it. It'll simplify your life. It's not that expensive, and it does a good job. So that's it for me. Hope you liked the video, and stay tuned for more.